Well, we can, do one of two things. We can sit here and complain about your poor ventilation studio, or we can light this puppy. What's your choice?
Set it on fire.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. The T-bone.
And chick brew.
Let's God bless. All these years, just get it right one time.
What do you want from me?
40 years they've been trying. You couldn't fire somebody if they were horrible, doing a terrible job for the veterans. And now you can say you're fired.
Okay. No one listens to radio.
And now for a quick disclaimer. The T-bone
And chick brew.
show is brought to you by nobody. We have no sponsors.
The show is still rated G.
For Glorious. I have been spending a lot of time listening to somebody else's podcast. And I don't mean like podcast I've been listening to over, the entire podcast history of podcast things. Here's the story. Oh, let me get back to where I can see you. It helps when I can see your face to know if I'm communicating properly or not. So
You couldn't see my face just now because I stubbed my toe and I think I made an ugly face.
Oh, I'm sure you did. Someone I have known for a very, very long time, over 20 years, very funny man out of Western New York named Ralph Tedda. Him and his brother decided that they were going to start a podcast this year. And there's a lot of challenges involved in creating podcasts. There are things that are going to happen. There are going to be bits that you figure out, and they're going to be good, and they're going to be bad, and you're going to have to evolve the show over time. What we have, me and you, is a long history of evolution. We have been evolving because we swing at every pitch. Let's just say that. If somebody's got an idea and says, hey guys, why don't you try this? We'll try it. We swing at every pitch and we strike out a lot. There's no hidden mystery there. And we adapt and sometimes we come up with better things. We're going to be making an adjustment in today's show that I'll be talking about later because we have to adjust. We have to adjust. Anyway, I'm listening to the $18 podcast with Ralph and Chris Tedda. And it is fun. So he announced at the beginning of the year, him and his brother were going to start the podcast. And I know that could be painful to listen to. New podcast by new people. I know it could be painful. So I figured I'd let them get some under their belt and then check it out and see if it's good. And they are also geographically separated, but not geographically separated over the distance where we are separated. And their sound quality is really good, and I'm very jealous about that. So I'm going to start picking their brain to kind of find out what they're doing better than what we're doing so that we can have that same sound quality. But again, they're going from like Midwestern New York to Western New York, and we're going from central Pennsylvania to coastal Spain. There's a little bit of a difference. There's definitely water involved in our distance. They could be doing it on a landline, for all I know. A landline that they ran themselves, like two little military phones with a cable running in between them that they ring up with a hand crank. By the way, if anybody ever asks you to hold those cables, do not hold those cables. It's a trick.
It's a trap. It's a trap.
It's a trap. It's okay. I love it when you talk.
No, I was going to... Oh.
It gives me a chance to breathe.
I met two new sailors today, and they were telling me about a funny Facebook, Instagram, TikTok guy, Military Fun Times. Have you heard of this?
No, but it sounds fun already.
So they were telling me, and the first thing that the guy started telling me about was DTS, which...
No, he did not.
I immediately had trauma, and I was like, stop right there. So my goal for this evening is to find this and share it on the page because that's how we got fired. I was like, Tony and I did this radio show for 7 years, and during COVID, someone listened to one show where we made a joke about DTS, and they fired us.
Well, to be fair...
He was like, but DTS is the joke.
To be fair, the someone that was listening was probably the most powerful person that could have possibly listened.
No, he had 7 years to figure it out, and he couldn't be bothered. And the only thing that happened was during COVID, everyone needed to justify their paycheck.
Yes, I can work from home. Look at what I'm doing. I'm the most important man in AFN, and I'm, what did they call that process when they do that to a show?
Auditing.
Yes, I'm auditing a show with 7 listeners.
Yeah. And all 7 listeners follow the fan page.
We have
No one was
great
mad.
fans. We had great listeners. We had a lot of Spanish listeners that enjoyed us. We had Americans that enjoyed us. It was a great show. I had a lot of fun doing it. But man, COVID screwed that up. And to bring anybody up to date who doesn't understand about this, and I'll get back to the $18 podcast. I don't want to lose that train of thought. I made a joke. It was not insensitive.
Malicious?
It was not malicious. It was not hurtful in any way. It
Was
made...
one times you were really funny. It wasn't forced. It wasn't contrived. It was genuinely funny.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, that made
7
me
years,
laugh.
we got one good joke out of you.
I told this joke, and again, it's not hurtful, not painful, not mean or anything, but it made fun of a tiny little system inside the government. Well, it made fun of a little bit more than that. But for the most part, it made fun of this thing that we all know, and all my military folks listening know what DTS is. And the auditor of our show, a very powerful man in the Armed Forces Network, took umbrage, if you will, to this joke. He was very upset about many things, mostly me making fun of the government on government-provided airwaves. He was not happy with that at all. It's fair to say that he is more old school than I am, because he is much older than me. He was idealic to me. I looked up to him. I had been in Europe as a young man, and I had heard him when he was working, and occasionally you could still hear him, and he had a uniquely distinct voice. He was a very good reporter. I looked up to him.
And I just thought he was another old dude who was so out of touch with everything that was happening around him that he could not remove the stick from the mud.
That is
We'll just say that.
that is a very fair assessment. Why am I so blurry? Clean the camera off. Or is it me? I do that a lot lately. I'm sitting in the office the other day, and I'm like, wow, my eyesight's getting bad, man. It's really dark in here. Not realizing, because it's a new office to me, I didn't realize that the lights were adjustable. So I'm just, I'm sitting in there. I'm all alone. I'm thinking that, age-related macular degeneration is hitting me with a random quickness. And then somebody walks in and goes, why is it so dark in here? I was like, oh, so it's not my eyeballs? And then he finds the dimmer switch and turns it on. And it was like Jesus had just walked in the door. Like there were angels in a choir as the lights rose in the room. All right, back to, I just want to get past this part real quick. The $18 podcast with Ralph and Chris Teta. It's available just about anywhere fine podcasts are sold. You can find them on Spotify. They're still working things out. I thought it was very funny that they also have a ghost episode.
Oh, no.
Everybody gets a ghost episode. When you do this...
You are recording currently, right?
Yes, I am. I had them fresh in my brain, and this is what made me remember, hit the record button. Because if I did this segment and did not hit the record button while I'm making fun of somebody else not recording, that's it. I would have done. I'd have tapped out. I'm done. No more shows for me.
Poetic.
Yes, they are entertaining. They are different. They are not foul. So
like that.
Yeah, if you're looking for a show that doesn't have a lot of bad words in it, and they are insightful and they have good conversation, they have some great guests, and I would recommend it as another thing to listen to out there, because you got your choice of things to listen to, and sometimes we're going to review them. And when we review them, we're going to recommend them, or we're not going to say anything about them. Honestly, we're not going to give you any bad reviews. Anytime I've ever listened to somebody's podcast and I think there may be some interest in someone out there, I'll let you know. Give it a shot. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. I'm not trying to lose you as a listener of the Luns B Show. We want you. Make no mistake. We want you to tell the truth.
To join the Navy.
To join the Navy.
Uncle Sam wants you.
But we also want you to experience the other thing that life has to give. And if there's somebody out there that's doing a good job, we're gonna share that with you. I caught it as soon as I said.
Yeah. Okay, Mayor Quimbley. All of a sudden, you're a Kennedy.
I don't control when those things happen. I want to think that I control it, but those voices in my head, those different voices in my head, they slip out sometimes. I can't help it. So that is what I wanted to share. We haven't talked in a bit. Tell me, what's going on in your world?
Oh, man. So I worked a lot. Yesterday was my first day off in like way too many days. But Tuesday, you remember that band Echo Smith?
I saw the video.
Yeah.
From the emergency room. I think I was watching it.
What were you doing?
I've made a lot of friends in the emergency room, so now I just go to visit, and I don't want to sit with the little people out in the waiting room. So I say, something like, chest pains or whatever, and they bring me into the back and give me a cookie, and they let me watch TV in the back. It's really nice. And then it's crazy. The wife comes to see me watch TV there. It's a good time. I have a lot of fun hanging out with my new friends at UPMC.
So that's why you weren't miffed when I said I couldn't do last night.
UPMC emergency room. I'm never miffed. I understand
I was super tired.
I understand you're full-time. You're a hard worker. You're doing a lot. I understand that. And I know you're best here on this show when you are rested. So if you tell me I need another day, girl, you're getting another day. That's going to happen.
I know, my day off did not end up being a day off. It ended up being a day of, hey, you haven't had a day off in like 2 weeks and you need to run all these errands. So I did that, and I got home and I had to cook dinner and be an adult, and I was done. So, but Echo Smith, super fantastic show, delightful human beings.
Really?
I didn't realize that they were brothers and sister.
I thought you found that out last time they were there.
No, this was their first time.
Oh. I'm cutting all that out. I don't want to sound stupid.
And we have no show.
Now it's got to stay in.
Bazinga. No, they were super delightful. We went out and got to spend a lot of time chatting with them. I do not miss tour life. That's one thing. I always romanticize back in the marketing tour days.
Yeah, imagine how awesome it would be.
And then, they're like, yeah, we've been on the road. This is like week 8. We've had one whole day off. And I was like,
yeah,
that's more days off than I used to get. And I don't miss that. But then I think about my last 3 weeks of work, and I'm like, oh, well, I guess it's not really been that much different.
What people who've never experienced life on the road in some kind of way, whether it be the way you did it, the way they do it, or the way I did it, that lifestyle, for at least these 3 examples, is transportation, preparation, execution, and boredom.
And a wish and a prayer. Don't forget the wish.
Yeah, because you don't know. You don't know. Sometimes you're going to places that ain't on the map. And remember, well, I think for both of us, we were both kind of doing this before GPS was everywhere.
Yeah.
If you wanted a GPS, you had to buy one. It didn't come free with your phone.
It was not integrated. And you had to load maps, and you had to update maps by plugging it into a computer that had software capable of updating those maps.
Was that your entire time, or did you ever have to break out a Tomlin guide or a Thompson's guide?
Well, one, I am an expert map reader.
Really?
My dad was in the Navy, and we did a lot of self-service moves. Loaded up the car and hit the road, and my mom taught me when I was in 3rd grade how to read the map so that I could navigate the family, because I was in one car. Dad was behind us in the truck with the brother. CB radios and
of course.
A paper map.
Oh, your mother, who I love.
My mom hit a turtle.
Your mother, who I love, taught you in her own image how how to not only read a map, but to communicate, to not only backseat drive, but to backseat drive from another vehicle. I am sure your father...
Road dog, come on.
Your father, being the saint he is, probably pulled out several chunks of hair having to listen to a 3-year-old say, "You're going the wrong way."
Look, we had a little blue Nissan 4-door and the gray Nissan pickup truck, and we took to the road. A beagle in the back seat.
I often refer to my family.
We made it.
Of course.
We made it.
Yeah. We all make it eventually. Or the place we stop is our new destination. I think that happened to my family a couple of times.
Before the report no later than date, and that is all that matters.
That's all that matters.
That's right. I've been guiding the Navy for decades.
I often refer to, if someone asks me, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "I'm a gypsy." Because we were mobile people. Until I joined the military, we were very, very mobile people. And there are a variety of fun travel stories that I could share, but we ain't got the time. I don't believe the old man ever used a map. He knew where he had to go, or he had a general idea, and that's the way we went. And I never remember her ever asking anyone for questions. I remember him getting extremely angry many, many times, but I don't think there was ever a map involved. I don't think I ever touched a map until I decided that I was going to make when I was like 16, 17 years old, I was going to make a drive in a stolen car. Well,
His alibi. He'll give you an alibi by taking the blame.
When you're in a car that legally, I'm using my air quotes here, when you're in a car that's legally not yours, and you don't technically have permission to have it, you can't do anything that brings attention to you. Well, you know what? I'm an old school hood rat. I know that back in the day, you didn't bring attention to yourself. And that seems to be the number one mistake these kids are making nowadays. They go out and do something stupid. Not only do they draw attention to themselves, but then they're filming it. Dummies. Anyway, so I'm in a car.
That none of that existed when I was in high school, because I can't say that I was smart enough to not have done those things.
Oh,
but
there's...
stole a car.
Huh? Who stole a car?
Stole a car.
Oh, okay.
My friend Tony.
You shouldn't. It's a bad thing to do. Anyway, I had this map out, and I really didn't need the map, but I kind of just wanted to look like I knew what I was doing. I picked up a hitchhiker.
So they could read the map for you?
No, but I wanted the hitchhiker who I did not know. It's not like it was a predetermined hitchhike date, like, "Hey, Chick Brew, do me a favor. Go stand on the side of 95. I'll drive by in a few minutes and pick you up and we'll go on a road trip." It wasn't anything like that. It was just me making a long journey alone on the cocaine highway. And as a young man, I realized I was going to be, what do they call it, racially profiled? I believe there would have been some racial profiling as a young white male driving a modern vehicle on the cocaine highway. So I saw a guy who looked like he could use a ride because he was doing the hitchhiking thing, which is a symbol, which is a clue. And I pulled over and I risked it. I got him in the car and I needed company. And we went for a ride. And 2 days later, we're in Brooklyn. And I only got stopped by the cops twice.
And married. Happened in between there and Brooklyn.
I only got
Brooklyn, whole new meaning.
I only got the attention of the cops twice. God, I am so fortunate for the way my life worked out. One was too lazy to come get us because I was speeding a little bit, not much. So not enough for him to chase us down, I guess. So he just, on the opposite side of the road, hit the lights. It made me poop myself. Because when you're doing something wrong, and I was wrong on many levels. I was wrong on many levels. And he hit those lights, man. I was like, this is not going to be good. But that's all he did. He just hit the lights, And it went for like a couple of seconds and turned the lights back off. And I was like, message received, officer. I will slow this down to the speed limit. And then the next time, and again, thank God for lazy cops, I couldn't drive anymore. I could not drive anymore. I was exhausted. And I'm not letting my newfound stranger friend drive because I'm surely going to end up dead then. So we pull over off to the side of the road. We try to take a nap. And we were sleeping long enough to have fogged up the windows. I remember that. But I don't know how long we were asleep. But I do remember. And I pooped myself again. Because as I opened my eyes, the red and blue lights were filling up the cabin of the car. And sure enough, there was a state trooper, highway patrolman, whatever it was in whatever state we were in. You can't park here. I don't know if he had that accent, but it feels good for the story. Y'all can't park here. Oh, I'm sorry. I couldn't stay awake anymore. I just had to pull over for a quick nap. I'm good now. There's a doggone. I almost, well, you know, what he really said versus what I can say, I got to mix it up a little bit. There's a doggone, I'm sure he would have said that, a rest area only a mile up the road. Yes, sir, officer. Thank you very much, sir. Have a great day, sir. And we started driving, and I couldn't have been too rested because I wasn't even a mile up the road yet, and I was already starting to doze off again. I was already starting to consider, hey, man, let's just pull over for like 30 seconds more sleep. Just 30 seconds more. It's all I need. But no, we eventually made it, and then I eventually made it to my actual destination. But all of that was to tell you about the time that I read a map in front of a stranger so that I would look important and smart.
Was your companion also going to Brooklyn? That seems very lucky of them.
He was also going to Brooklyn.
Told you guys they got married.
So as soon as you come over to Verrazana, it dumps you right off into Brooklyn, right? And I know I needed to go up to Atlantic, and I needed to take that out there to the Buffalo, Saratoga, in that area. I know where I needed to go. And old boy had no idea where he needed to go. But once I drove him all the way to Brooklyn, never asking him for a thing except for companionship and conversation, he wanted to get kind of testy with me and tell me where I had to take him, at which point he got thrown out of the car.
Oh.
Yes. And he didn't want to leave the car, but in a series of felonies I'm feeling free to tell you about at this point in my life, I was armed. And
stolen car.
I wasn't taking no for an answer. So he got out of the car, and then I proceeded to my destination, and yeah. Anyway,
I've never done any of those things. I do love a good road trip. But there are two times, and I'm very good at staying awake while driving, but there are 2 times of day where I always feel tired, at dusk and at dawn. It doesn't matter if I'm fully rested. Doesn't matter if I've driven 12, 13 hours. If the sun is at the horizon, I am like, I just need to sleep.
as I get older, it gets more difficult to stay awake. Thank you for some diagnoses of things that I didn't know that was wrong with me. But apparently, my sleep schedule, as for all of my time in the military, my sleep schedule was not quite optimal.
No.
And then I retire, and I got even bigger than I got, and there were some blockages when I sleep, and, you know, snoring, the silent snore. I'm going to call it that from now on. I think that's much better. The silent snore. Yes. You don't know the silent snore? It's sleep apnea. It's when you stop breathing. You can't snore if you're not breathing. So I would do the silent snore, and then, so I would make that trek. I would drive every weekend to pick up my daughters. I would drive all the way out to Valdosta, all the way back to Kingsland, and then all the way back to Jacksonville, like the divorce triangle. There's the Bermuda Triangle, and then there's the divorce triangle. And I would do that run every weekend, at the beginning of the weekend, at the end of the weekend, after a long day of work. And there were times I would get from 95 over to 75 on the west end of Georgia, and I have to pull off and take a nap. Now, it wouldn't have to be a long nap, but I just couldn't keep my eyes open anymore. And and I'm doing all the bad road things that you do. I'm eating the junk food and drinking the high caloric fructose corn syrup, whatever it is. And I'm doing all the bad things to stay awake, and it still wouldn't work. And I just have to pull over and take a nap. And then I started planning where I was going to take my naps. And now that I sleep hard, and I don't want to say I'm better, but I'm better at some things. And one of them is driving long distances. I do it a lot better now. Better car, more comfortable car, well rested. But the least sleep I ever got on the longest trip was the easiest directions I ever had. Didn't need a map. Didn't even need a map. I went from Port Hueneme, California to Kings Bay, Georgia.
Straight across.
And these were the directions word for word. Take the 5 down to the 10, turn left. Take the 10 to 95, turn left. It'll be on your right-hand side. And those are dead-on directions for anybody leaving Port Hueneme, California and going to Kings Bay, Georgia.
I think the longest drive I ever did by myself was I drove from Austin, Texas to Charlotte, North Carolina in one day. It's 28 hours with stops. I did it. It was fine. The longest, but I was rested. I knew I was going to make that drive. I knew what I was getting myself into. The longest drive I've ever done with the least amount of sleep was 45 minutes of sleep, 16-hour drive from Memphis to Oklahoma City. That almost killed me. Because the wind driving through Oklahoma, I thought was going to push the van off the road. So I'm like steering at an angle the whole way, white knuckling it, and that was not enough sleep for that drive. But that was a mandatory drive because it was for work.
My shipmate, my friend, because sailors were notorious, especially in the 80s. They loved getting killed in car accidents because we would get off of work on one day and then we would try to live the best life that we could possibly live, no matter what the location, and then get back to work on Monday morning. That's the life of a sailor in port. That's what we did. We would go to Georgia, and now this is when I was living in Norfolk. We'd drive to Georgia one weekend. We would drive to South Carolina. We would drive. And my friend Ross, he had driven south, probably down to Texas or something like that. And on the way coming back, he was on 95. He's listening to Prince's Sign of the Times album. And there's this song, Never Take the Place of Your Band, where it's in the background. I got it queued up. It's just in the background. Now, he's driving, imagine, it's I-95. It's dark. There's very few cars on the road. And you're just driving along. And then you're listening to this song, and then it gets to this section where it just does that. And it does that for like the next 4 minutes. He gone. He got lullabied to sleep by Prince. He goes off the side of the road. He overcorrects, flips the car, and it's never fun to flip your car on the interstate. But luckily for him, it was in the middle of the night, and no one ran him over. But the last 3 minutes of that song is just that same melodic bum 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 bum. It just lays there. And at the very end, it picks back up, but he had already crashed by then.
I do have like those songs that just get you through the painful parts of driving. And I know like if I'm starting to get a little tired, I'm like, oh, because I listen to audiobooks most of the time while I'm driving. But there comes a point sometimes in a drive where
of course
it's not it. You got to switch to the music.
Audiobooks are great for engaging the brain.
Styles.
Oh, really? Audiobooks are great for engaging the brain.
But not necessarily after like 12 hours. When you're on like book 3, that's normally when I'm like, I need to mix it up with some music.
Yeah, or it better be a really good narration. It better be somebody who acts.
And I have favorite narrators.
I know.
Because like there will be a book that will not sound interesting, but if the narrator is someone that I enjoy, I will go for it.
So I was not trying to stay awake, but I was driving through South Carolina. in the middle of the night, and it was 4 non-blondes. And I am screaming that song. There's nobody on the
There's no
road.
other way.
It's just me, and I am bellowing. I am letting it all hang out. And that's when I got hit by a deer. Oh yeah, that was the deer accident that also almost killed me. And I remember I was at one of those, yay! I mean, I was just bellowing, and then boom, and crash, and lights on, and can't see anything outside of the car, and bumpity bump, and ooh, I'm airborne, and crash some more, and yeah, do not recommend that. Well,
Hit by a deer.
yeah, we know. I know.
I got hit by a deer.
I know.
That's not fun. It's not fun, and it's not fair, and they don't stop to give you insurance. They just die or keep running.
Yours kept running, right?
Rude.
Mine was there, and the trooper asked me if I wanted to keep it. I'm like, no, I don't want to keep it. Look what it did to my car. Take it home, stuff it, And then the insurance company's like, how do we know this was a deer? I'm like,
Tufts of fur.
yeah, there were plenty of tufts of fur, a big pile of poo, not mine.
We all know you poop your pants in a crisis.
Well, yes, I am a crisis pooper. Who is it really, a crisis pooper?
You're a panic pooper.
Hey, we are moving along nicely, and this has been fun so far. But we, unlike the $18 podcast, have a thing called segments, and we do segments because, as Christina P. says, everybody loves segments. I need to talk to you about one in particular.
It's time to talk about cooking.
And tonight proved one thing. You know all.
I almost always let you go first in everything that we do. And since I have written down the things I need to talk to you about, that's not going to change today. Tell me, what have you been cooking?
So I haven't been taking as many orders because I needed a break. So I could cook a little more at home and feed the family and not eat so many cupcakes. So back to school started. We're there. So I'm doing some cooking to get everyone, lunch and dinner. And I found this recipe for a pork shoulder, and then I didn't follow the recipe, but I followed the premise. And it was pork shoulder with a paste that was garlic, cilantro, orange juice, lime juice, jalapeno, and cumin, salt, pepper. Threw it all in the food processor, whipped it up, cross-hatched the pork shoulder, threw it in a bag with the paste, rubbed it all in there. Forgot about it for a day. The next day, your favorite kitchen gadget, I Instapotted it. Made a little guacamole go on top with a potato and some asparagus. It was so good. I do not like leftovers. I had it for dinner today, and I was not mad about it.
There are certain leftovers that are better. It's just science, man. There are just some things that after they've had some hours of just soaking up the juices a little bit more are just so much better the next day. I took your suggestion when it came to chicken wings in the Instapot, and I'm going to say didn't work.
Oh.
I have done it previously with garlic water, and I believe that a garlic taste was infused in the chicken. You suggested that I add honey to the garlic water because if the garlic can be infused, so should the honey. In theory, right? But it didn't really take. So I don't believe there's a better way of cooking chicken wings than in the Instapot because it makes them fall off the bone cooked all the way through. There's never a question if you're getting, a little pink meat. These things are cooked. And then dipping that into a honey garlic sauce. Or, and that's what I did last time, what I may do in the future is drizzle it. Just a little bit. Drizzle it.
You gotta drizzle.
But that is not what I needed to talk about this week because you are a certified sanctimonious type. You are a chef. You are a no-kidding chef who went to school, and not just an online school, an actual school where they taught you things I need to know. The first one I'm going to ask is for the benefit of J-Bone. J-Bone, out of the blue, decided she was going to make cupcakes for everybody in the office. Oh, what a lovely, lovely thing to do. But what I don't want to tell you is They looked like they were going to a second grade class birthday party is what they look like. Oh, no. They were cupcakes by definition, handheld portable cake. That was that. But when it came time to do dressage, I think that's the correct word I want to use there. When it came time to put the frosting on, she was there with a knife.
Oh.
And it wasn't nice. How, for the benefit of someone we know, how do you get frosting on top of a cupcake in a pretty way?
With a piping bag and piping tip.
Can you use like the chalk gun?
I will say.
Well, I mean, piping bags are a pain in the butt to use, but they make one that looks like a chalk gun that does the same thing, right? You pull the trigger and it works.
Well, it depends on what kind of topping you want. I know what you're talking about. And yeah, if you were doing like a stamp and you were just going to do like a bunch of little tiny starbursts on top, that would be fine.
Okay. But we want...
The piping bag is a pain in the butt.
Uh-huh.
But a cool thing you can do is pipe it on top, take a piece of parchment paper, let your frosting set a little bit, and then plop it down, and you'll get a flat top. And then you could like write on it with an edible pen or something, or just...
Oh.
And it doesn't really have to be like all intricate.
Honestly, I'll tell you, I am not a fan of a lot of frosting on a cupcake. First of all, not a fan of cupcakes. I'm not a big fan of cupcakes. I'm a fat guy. I don't eat fat things. I get all my calories from alcohol. But if I had a cupcake and it had a sensible, reasonable, thin layer of frosting over the top of it, I would be prone to eat that. So I like what you're saying. You put a little bit on there, you put the parchment paper on top of it, give it a second to cool down, and squash it so it gives you that, because the parchment's not going to stick to the frosting.
Right, it gives you, and then you just put it in the refrigerator cool, like to set, and then when you pop it off, it's got a nice flat top on it. And that way you don't have to have like a mountain. I am not, and I make good frosting. I like frosting, but I don't like to eat a cupcake where when I bite it, it's like up my nose.
Exactly.
I'm not a fan of that.
Especially if the cupcake, especially if the cupcake has a mound on it, like a mushroom top,
I don't need
then that's going right in your nose every time, especially with a schnoz like this.
You were born that way, and it's beautiful.
No, I was not born. Could you imagine if I was born with a nose like this? They would have pulled me out like a bowling ball.
That's how they pulled you out.
Now,
yeah.
No, we're good. We're good. I got a good frosting advice.
The knife is not it.
It is not. And I am not making fun of her cooking or her food. They were tasty and delicious. I'm just saying they could look a little better. If you're taking this to an office full of adults, you got to work on presentation a little bit.
She'll get there.
Yeah, she'll get there with my training. Anyway. Now, there's another woman in my life.
And apologize in advance.
There's another woman in my life that I want to help out because she did something that didn't look right at all. Now, Gregorio Micheli is my friend. And Gregorio Micheli one day showed me that he could make a tiramisu with a couple of liquids and a couple of ladyfingers. And they were amazing. Now, I recently saw a picture of someone who made a tiramisu that I'm sure was probably delicious, but again, presentation. It didn't look light, fluffy, and delicious like Gregorio Micheli's. It looked like it was it's like when you buy a burger at a burger joint and there's a picture up there that says, this is what our burger looks like. And then they throw a wrapper at you and you're like, this is not what that picture is at all. That's what it kind of a comparison between one tiramisu and another. Now, going to your professional knowledge, how do you make a tiramisu look beautiful, light, and presentable?
The only thing I can think of when I saw that same picture was the coffee still warm when the cream was put on? That made it kind of melt. Because I saw no layers of cream in that in that photo. And that's the best part, is that light, fluffy, airy cream. And I don't know what happened in that photo. I would like to know. Very much so.
So
did you get any?
I wouldn't dare. Are you kidding me? I'm not. This is already putting me in danger. I am not gonna ask what happened. I just think that, as any of our listeners might think as they heard that your coffee needs to be cold.
And maybe too much coffee.
Okay, and your coffee amount needs to be deliberate.
Because if I'm thinking maybe what had happened was...
You see what happened was...
Yeah, the first layer was put down and then coffee was maybe poured over. And so there was a lot of extra liquid. And that added to the cream when you put the next layer, if the coffee was poured over again, would then again dissolve. And then...
I'm going to tell you, from years of experience of eating food, sometimes it doesn't have to be beautiful to be delicious. And I'm sure...
There's a whole like website and Facebook page called "Food That Looks Like Poo But Tastes Amazing."
Oh, I should be on that webpage because I make a lot of food like I used to. Now I'm concerned with presentation and stuff like that. I'm sure that tiramisu was delicious.
Oh, I'm sure.
But not to the eyeballs. And you eat with your eyeballs. I've heard a famous chef say this.
So. Gotta feed the phone first, and if your phone isn't satisfied, the rest of you won't be.
Well, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That's a regular segment that we do when we talk about food. We have multiple segments that we do, and every once in a while we throw in a commercial just to let you know that even though you're listening to us here, there's other places you could be listening to us. Hey, everybody, it's T-Bone. Did you know you can listen to the Lunsby Show on the iHeartRadio app? The team at iHeartRadio has created 2 new features on the app. You can now auto-download to your device and be notified whenever new episodes are released, all for free using the iHeartRadio app. And you can listen to the Lunsby Show from anywhere. iHeartRadio. Discover music, radio, and podcasts you'll love. I see you melting. I am pushing forward to get through the rest of this as quickly as possible.
Sweat in my eye.
Everything is everything. What is meant to be will be.
Thank you for listening. As always, ladies and gentlemen, we go to the Book of Everything every week to learn something that's new and interesting. And if you find something new and interesting that's in the Book of Everything, it will stay with you for life, as if we were talking about...
Elephant chin.
True story. That is what we do. I'm going to tell you something right now. They're doing something on radio that's making me very angry, and I'm easily angered these days. What I just did is a talent to speak really fast, and it was a valuable talent that was used in radio at the end of commercials where you needed to spit out disclaimers really fast, but you still had to get it within the 30 seconds. Now, these little punk kids are doing this normal speak and using computers to speed it up to unrecognizable decipherments. They're saying words you can't understand because it's a 1-second word that's being done in 1/10 of a millimeter of a second.
They didn't even write it. They just chat GPT'd it. Everything about what they're doing. Cheating.
Oh, I hate these kids.
Cheating.
Oh, I hate these kids. Here we go.
Days.
We're going to give you 2 facts from the book of... We're going to give you 2 facts from the Book of Everything, and hopefully it'll be something you never, ever heard before. Here's one. More than 80% of the world's population takes caffeine in tea, coffee, or cola every day. 80% of humans get daily caffeine in the form of tea, coffee, or cola every single day. I am not one of those 80%.
I don't really drink cola or tea or I don't really drink coffee anymore.
Well, I definitely don't drink coffee on the weekends. I've really dialed back my coffee.
Yeah, which is wild because I used to be like a constant coffeeer. But no.
Here we go. On to the next book, the next fact from the Book of Everything. I'm going to do this one in a question. How do we kill a human being with chocolate? What is the amount of weight needed in chocolate to kill a person? First there's the weight, and then there's a more measurable stick, because we refuse to use the metric system, in product. So there's the poundage, which I don't want you to guess the poundage. And listeners, I don't want you guessing the poundage either. I want you thinking metrics.
Are they being drowned in it or
No, this is a lethal dose of chocolate. We are going to give someone X amount of Hershey bars. I have the answer.
I'm in it. I'm into it.
All right, we're going to give a person X amount of Hershey bars and kill them with the chocolate. How many Hershey bars do we need to feed them?
Are you asking me?
I am, yes.
87.
Too high. Try again.
Too high.
Too high.
65.
Lower.
I feel like I've done this before. 32.
A little bit higher. The answer is 40. So remember, once you reach your 39th Hershey bar, it's time to stop because that's a lethal dose. Well, I've been doing lethal doses for years. I'm pretty sure I could do more. But 40 Hershey bars equates to 22 pounds. Now, I'm going to say...
What if you went with like dark chocolate instead? Would it be less?
Right? What if it was white chocolate? Is white chocolate less deadly statistically?
Well, absolutely not. It is more deadly because it's just the fat.
Oh, so yeah, 22. Here's what I think. If you're consuming 22 pounds of anything in a single seating, I think it's a lethal dose. I don't care. I don't care what it is. 22 pounds of watermelon, 22 pounds of cotton candy, 22 pounds of cotton candy. How much?
Oh
That's a...
You have 83 cases of diabetes.
On the flip side, and to show you that other species are not as resilient as humans, a single M&M is enough to kill a small songbird. There it is.
Oh, no.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. 2 facts from the book of everything. 80% of the people in the world use tea, coffee, or cola every day. And 40 Hershey bars equals the lethal amount of chocolate for a human being. Moving on.
Ask the internet a question. No, you wait.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
How much does one serving of cotton candy weigh?
There is not enough computing power in that phone to tell us how much.
1 ounce.
Is it cotton
grams.
candy? 1 ounce serving. A serving of cotton candy is 1 ounce.
Oh, shoot. Today is National Cotton Candy Day.
Nailed it.
Crush that. All right, yeah. 1.75 ounces of cotton candy is sold in that, so it's a little over serving. But 1 ounce of cotton candy is the
Recommended serving size.
Serving size.
All right. 16 ounces in a pound times 22 pounds. That's a whole lot of cotton candy. Anyway, moving on. You got any headlines for me?
I do.
And now it is time for headlines from around the globe.
She's in Europe. I'm in America. We might see news differently. She searches the world for headlines. I mine the headline for entertainment, education, or nonsense. I do my best with what I'm given, so she's equally responsible if this fails. That's what I'm saying. Oh, here we go.
Italy to spend $2.9 million or euro to tackle invasion of aggressive blue crab.
I understand. I understand that the government of Italy wants to get involved in the eradication of the invasive blue crab. I got it. But I'm telling you right now, on the waterfronts in Naples, in the waterfronts in Gaeta, and the waterfronts of Formia, them blue crab are getting eat. Now, blue crab are destructive, and they mess up your cozze and your vongole. It'll mess those up. But, you know, they're also really, really tasty and delicious. And they breed like bunnies. Ever heard that before? So beating out invasive species usually doesn't work because by the time an invasive species becomes a problem, it's too late. It's like these little acrobatic ninja fish that they got here in American waters, little Asian carp or whatever they are that jump out of the boat and smack people in the face. Those fish, yeah, they're an invasive species, and there's not getting rid of them. They're here to be. So maybe. How does a blue crab make it all the way to Italy? Yeah, no one's smuggling.
We talked about them making whiskey out of them, and was it Maryland?
Yeah.
Blue crab whiskey. Yeah. I mean, come on, Italy, make us some wine.
That was quite a few episodes ago. I'm surprised you remember that.
I remember all kinds of things, just not important things. Pins and crabs, that's what you get in this brain.
So, did it give you the location? Is it on the East Coast or the West Coast? If I had to guess, it's going to be on the East Coast, not the Tyrrhenian Sea, but the Aegean or Adriatic.
Hold on, it's hot, and I need to open the tab.
You don't have to. That was a good headline.
90% of young clams, they are eating them.
Yeah, that's your coche.
Little buggers.
Yeah, clams are not nearly as reproductive as crabs, but then again, you get a lot more meat out of a crab than you get out of a clam. In Italy, the old ladies, they walk on the beach, and they got these like built-in little nets in the bottom of their dress. It's a very strange-looking thing. So they'll walk along the beach, and they'll dig their toes in the beach, and they'll go after the coche, the vongole, the tiny little muscles that when they feel vibration on the sand, they dig themselves into the ground. They'll just grab them with their feet, and then they'll put them in their little the pouch dress, and they'll just walk along.
It's called a pocket.
Yes, it's a giant pocket, and then they'll sell these to you, and you can eat them.
I know people don't believe that women's clothing should have pockets, but sometimes they do have pockets.
I am going to be the most famous dress designer in history because I'm putting pockets.
Item of clothing.
I'm putting pockets in everything.
You put
Women's pants,
all we want is pockets.
getting pockets. Women's dresses, pockets. Women's underwear, pockets. Women's bras. You know, most disgusting thing a woman can do is, when they're ugly. When they're ugly. If they're attractive, it is not offensive. But if they are ugly,
it's absolutely disgusting. No, because if you've been dancing
and you try to pay with that,
with your friends, and then you bring that to me at the bar, I will tell you to go to the ATM. I don't want your boob sweat touching all of my tip money.
Now,
go away.
Hold on a second.
No.
Hold on.
No.
I put a pocket in the bra.
You don't understand how sweaty bras get, and I can tell you right now, bras get very sweaty, as I am wearing one and sweating.
I also used to work for tips.
The crabs come from the Po River Delta. I don't know where.
So that's up north. Interesting. They're coming in through the Po. Those daggone Germans! I don't know how the blue crab got there, but if it's there to stay. It's too bad it's not coastal.
Maryland.
Yeah, exactly. All right, you got another headline for me?
I do. Woman attacked by snake and hawk at the same time while mowing lawn.
Okay, she should just kill herself.
In a cast.
Oh, she's like, oh man, when you're having a bad day, I wish I had that queued up right now. When you had a bad day. When you're having a bad day, those are the kind of things that happen. What is the worst? What is the worst that you could think of where something's happened and then something else happened and then something else happened? So it's like this bad thing is happening. Oh, no, now another bad thing is happening. Oh, no, an even worse thing has happened. We've all seen these.
We just call that Monday. Oh, God. Oh,
God, I showed up at work. Oh, God. Oh, God, here's my boss. Oh, God. Oh, God, there's still 8 hours and 59 minutes left on the clock.
Do I fake a heart attack and go to the ER?
Oh, nice. Nice, thanks. That's what I do now. That's my go-to move. I'm the white Fred Sanford. I'm coming, Elizabeth. Oh, jeez. So I know how this happens. It's nature at its finest. It's wrong place, wrong time. She's out there. She's mowing the lawn. She's not bothering anybody. She stirs up a snake. Hawk sees snake. Hawk, I feel like a weird version of rock, paper, scissors, lizard Spock here. Hawk swoops down, snatches up snake, takes snake up into the air. Snake bites Hawk. Hawk releases snake. Snake drops down on woman. Hawk goes back to get snake, and then she runs her leg over with the lawnmower.
Help me, Jesus, help me. That's not funny. Poor Peggy. Oh my gosh. Bless her heart. Yeah, no, the hawk dropped the snake from the sky. It wrapped around poor Peggy and then swooped down, swiped at her arm to retrieve the snake. And I just kept saying, Help me, Jesus. Help me, Jesus. Peggy Jones, bless your heart. Man, I mean, hawks have talons. I would just give it the snake back. Just give the snake back.
I don't think she was trying to keep the snake. I think the snake is like, oh, thank God, this human's going to protect me with her giant vortex of death.
The only person who had a worse day than her was the snake. The snake lost twice.
Yeah, the snake's losing the battle eventually, but he's going out on a high note. He's doing some damage on his way out. He's like, oh yeah, you got me, but I got you too. I got you, and I got a twofer. You know, in snake heaven, I'm going to be awesome in snake heaven. They're going to love me up there. I'm going to regale fellow snakes with stories of my death that will impress them for eons and eons.
Well, I hope she has a quick recovery because I don't really have a problem with snakes, but I don't like to I wouldn't want one to fall on me.
My friend Jerry Taylor said it best, the only good snake is a dead snake.
Someone else's problem.
And many other times I would see snakes commit suicide by shovel. Hey, we're moving on to the final segment before you die.
Oh, this is just my new workout routine.
This is a good workout.
In the sauna room and just sweat.
Earlier on, I was talking about the $18 podcast and how they, in the content creators corner, when you do things, you gotta adjust fire. When you want to kill the enemy at a great distance, you send a couple of rounds down there and see if you get them. And if you don't, you stop and you adjust fire. Like, I need you to bring that about 2 degrees, and you bring it over here about 286, and we're gonna get that bad guy. You're firing rounds, and then you stop. And you fire some more rounds. And we're doing that right now. What I have found...
Every time you say stop, all I can think is collaborate and listen. That's all I can think. So just stop.
Just get through it. For a long time, ever since we got rid of birthday burns, we've been doing birthday boost. And we've been doing birthday boost for a long time now. We've gone through a couple of cycles around the sun doing birthday boost. And it is now becoming even more exclusive. What we did for years is we gave 2 birthday boosts a week per person for a total of 4 birthday boosts. We're not doing that anymore. We cannot afford to do that anymore because we're not making any new friends. We're not creating any new listeners. So and we're not making any memories. So here's the deal. In the future, beginning today, we will only get 1 birthday boost per person. One person in our birthdays list is gonna get a great, awesome, happy birthday message. Like last week, well, 2 weeks ago by the time you guys hear this, when I gave the best birthday boost I have ever given. We're gonna limit it to 1, and we're gonna try to keep our honorable mentions short. So when you're thinking about it, Chick Brew, as you go through, pick out the best birthday boost and pick out the either most loved or most neglected. You don't have to tell us which is which. Like, if you have somebody that's had a birthday and you haven't seen them in a long time, hadn't heard anything about them in a long time, and you want to give them a quick little shout out for their birthday, that makes sense. But if it's somebody, we've given like 17 birthday boosts and four honorable mentions to, maybe their time, maybe we could skip a week, because it's not like they're listening. Even when we list their names in the magic mirror, they're still not listening. So as always, you get to go first with your first and only birthday boost of the week.
Well, I'm going to go with would have been my first anyways. Kesha Benjamin. I met her when I was in Bahrain. She was one of the CSs in the Admiral's Mess. She's one of the people who always took the time to explain to me what she was doing in the kitchen and helped foster my love for cooking. She also was just selected for Chief.
What?
So a very good week. Her birthday and the announcements coincided, and she's about to have the worst birthday of her life. I don't know. Super proud of her. She's always been very compassionate, kind, and willing to share. She's going to make a great chief, and she's an even better person than she is Sailor Day. You've got this.
So we didn't talk about that. I didn't think about that because I've gotten further and further away from the active duty side of the house. But I can tell you, Jacob Irwin was on that list. I was very happy to see that. Kaylee Fenton was on that list. I was very happy to see her name. Cain Comer was on the list.
Oh, Comer.
Comer was on the list. So those are three names I immediately remember. I think nothing but the greatest.
Friends.
So I'm very happy for them.
Well, 2 MC friends from school. Stephanie Belcher, she's going to be great. Tyler Thompson, he's also going to be great. You've all seen his photos. His photos were all over New York Times, Time Magazine when they did the balloon takedown. They're great photographers. They're great leaders. They are making the Navy proud.
This was the worst. This is the worst week I could have possibly decided to limit the amount of people we can give a birthday boost to. Because I got some champions in here. I got people that I love. I got family. I have to make a tough decision. But you know what? That's what I do. In times of trouble, I make decisions. And this young man's behavior today, and today specifically, was so remarkable that he has won a birthday boost from the Lunsby Show only because of his behavior just today. He does other amazing things, but first thing this morning, I get a little message on the fan page that he was listening to an episode and he was cracking up about something that he listened to, and that made my day. And then he went over to the merch page and he saw something on the merch page that he wanted, and that made my day. Michael Stanley, Chief Michael Stanley, who I have probably unfairly made a lot of fun of over the years because he's my brother and we bust chops. And I got much affinity and love for him. He's a great guy. He's a dedicated listener. When we were in one country and he was in another country, he is what initially made us international. He was listening from afar. He's great people. He's married to an amazing woman. I can't say anything better about the guy. I love the guy. And it's his birthday. And because of that, he's getting one of the biggest and the best birthday boost. So moving on. Who is in your now abbreviated honorable mention section?
All right. I got Fletcher. I got Lydia. I got Jackie. I have Meg. Can I have one more? I haven't do it anyways. And Erin.
I got Lucy. My sister-in-law. I love her to death. She's adorable. Jody, you remember Jody from Family Service Center with the triplets.
Oh. Yeah.
Doreene, I think this is her first birthday without the love of her life, who passed away unfortunately earlier this year. And so difficult to do. The Edge, who was one of my AFN guys in Sigonella. Daniella Lacaire is celebrating her birthday. Pat Dronker celebrating his birthday. And I'm finishing out with my work crush of many, many years. There was a Master Chief or a Senior Chief or whatever she was when I first met her, who was one of the best female leaders I had ever got to work with, who could give young women the best speech they could possibly receive. And I can't go any further into it because that would make it like a birthday boost. And I'm not trying to slip one in on you. I just want to say, Paula Nicase, I wish all of you to include my friend Paula Nicase. Nothing but the biggest, the brightest, and the best. Happy birthday to you all. All right. Are you dead yet?
No, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It's okay. It's fine.
Legit sweating.
You are, but it's going to cool down soon. It's going to cool down soon, and it's going to be better up there.
Take a shower.
Or we'll get you, are you set on keeping the studio upstairs?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then we'll just...
We're hoping this weekend that the temperature drops again. It's just there's no breeze today. We have no wind. So the windows are open and there's nothing.
Oh, it sucks to live in southern Spain, I know.
Yeah, I mean, we're making it.
Well, let's go ahead and wrap this up, and we'll have our friend Daryl McClain give us our closeout.
Thank you for listening to T-Bone and Chick Brew. If you enjoyed that show, you should check out the Daryl McClain Show, independent media that won't reinforce tribalism. We have one planet and nobody's leaving, so let's reason together. You can find the Daryl McClain Show at the same place you actually listen to this show. Give it a shot.
All right, thanks for listening, everybody. Be safe. Oh, shoot, we forgot to do our closeout. It's out of order, but I'll do it anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, I remind you today, as I remind you every day, just be the best person that you can be. And if you were a great person today, be an even better person tomorrow.
And don't forget that you are loved.
Can't forget that. That's signature. That's canon.